I wanted to just give a brief update on an active investigation we have going on involving a child endangering complaint. So on Monday, April 20th, approximately 7 p.m., Dayton police officers were dispatched to Rowe Avenue on report of a check welfare complaint. The father of a child that lived there had requested officers check on the welfare of his 15-year-old daughter based on some information he had received from her about some possible abuse in the household. Officers did make contact with the residents there, a 40-year-old male and 35-year-old female. The residents were initially very reluctant to allow the officers to speak with the 15-year-old. After some convincing, they did allow them to speak with her. She had a small injury to her lip. The daughter was not really willing to explain what happened. So at that point, they did not have enough information to make an arrest. They did, however, file a complaint and made a referral to Montgomery County Children's Services. Fast forward to yesterday, April 21st, approximately 1 p.m., different officers were dispatched out to the same address on a child endangering check welfare complaint. They were made aware of a video circulating on social media of a child being beaten by the 40-year-old resident there. So they did have an opportunity to view that video and see the contents of that. They made contact at the residence with the suspect and his girlfriend. After some initial investigation, they took both subjects in custody and they were arrested for the charges of child endangering, resisting arrest, and obstructing official business. During the arrest of the male suspect, he did resist arrest and sustained a broken leg. He was taken to the hospital where he was treated for his injuries and then booked into the Montgomery County Jail on the charges of misdemeanor child endangering, resisting arrest, and obstructing official business. The Dayton Police Department Care House Unit executed a search warrant at the residence yesterday where they obtained evidence related to the child endangering complaint. They also did a removal of 7 children from that residence. They were removed by Children's Services and taken to the hospital for checks for injuries. They also located 14 dogs at the residence. The owners appeared to have some type of breeding operation there. So the Animal Resource Center got involved and they were issued citations for having unlicensed dogs. At this point in the investigation, we have some forensic interviews scheduled for the juveniles that were involved in this incident, as well as the siblings. So we will interview them to make sure any appropriate charges are given to the suspects. We are still processing the evidence from the search warrant, and we expect additional search warrants will be served on some of the evidence that we recovered. One thing to note, as of now, we have misdemeanor charges against both suspects, but it is possible those charges will be upgraded as we get additional forensic evidence from the evidence that we received at the scene and also from the interviews of the juveniles. I do want to highlight it is Child Endangering and Child Abuse Awareness Month, April, so it's kind of a fitting incident to highlight at this time. We do appreciate all of the citizens and residents of the neighborhood that came forward. Once they became aware of this video, they brought that to our attention immediately. And that kind of information is vital in these investigations. If it were not for people bringing forward this kind of information, you really don't know what goes on inside the residences in these neighborhoods. So I would encourage anyone that has information about child abuse or child endangering to not be shy about sharing that information with the police so we can bring justice for these victims.
Are there potentially going to be more charges added based off evidence in this additional search warrants?
Yeah, as I said earlier, as we interview the juveniles and process this evidence, there is a possibility that this will be upgraded to a felony child endangering, and there also may be other crimes that we can charge them with.
Who reported this to you on Tuesday, Lieutenant?
The father on Tuesday, it came from multiple sources. People saw the video, they called in, they emailed, they posted it on social media, so it was a lot of people coming forward with this information.
People inside the house or outside the house?
Outside the house, yeah.
And is there any other times prior to this week that DPD has been to that house regarding either domestic or child abuse complaints?
One thing we look at is the call history of the address, and I checked it briefly before the interview. I'm not aware of any other, prior to this week, any other kind of child endangering complaints, but that will be something that our detectives look at more closely to see if there are other incidents or a pattern, not just at this address, but if they lived at other addresses as well.
I know you mentioned 7 kids. At this point, do you all believe all or some of the children were being abused? Do you all know yet?
It's really early in the investigation. That's what our forensic interview we hope will uncover. Once we interview the children, we kind of find out how systemic this abuse was. And then if there's any other evidence, like the video that was shared on social media, there may be other videos of other abuse that we can look at. So we're hoping that that search warrant of these cell phones and videos that we got will be helpful for that.
But at this point, you only know for sure one that's charged.
Correct,
in
yeah.
relation
At this time, it's just the one that was featured in that video. It's a 10-year-old female juvenile.
We know, you said it was the father first complained. Have you been in contact with the father about what has he said there's a history of it?
That's something that our detectives will definitely follow up with. We'll speak to everybody involved, the parent, because it's kind of a blended family. So there's, biological children and children that they have custody of. So we'll talk to everybody involved and make sure we have a full picture of what happened.
Do you know how many children are actually biological versus just custody?
I believe 5 children are the children of the 35-year-old female that lives at the house, and then she has custody of her. She's watching 2 of her, I believe, nieces and nephews.
Are you able to talk about what your officers found when they actually went inside the home?
Not at this time, no.
What's the relationship of the male suspect to the 7 kids?
I believe it's a boyfriend of the mother of the children.
So the relationships of hers you just detailed, and then he is just her boyfriend?
I believe it's just a boyfriend, yeah.
Not the biological, he's not the father of any of these
As far
children.
as of right now, I believe it's just a boyfriend.
Do you guys have any indication that any of the animals that you removed from the home or that ARC cited them for, do you have any indication any of the animals were used in the abuse of the children?
At this time, no. But again, once we look at some of these videos and talk to the kids, but I don't believe the animals related to the child abuse.
You mentioned that the dogs might have been part of a breeding program. What lends to say that versus just they had a lot of dogs?
Their social media accounts, we look at those and they advertise that they breed and sell dogs. So that's kind of where we got that from.
Sorry. Was there any indication that there may have been animal abuse involved as well?
Not that I'm aware of.
Who has the dogs now, Lieutenant?
They were released to a family member. They're in his care and control.
And you mentioned that the male suspect broke his leg while he resisted arrest. Is that he sustained that broken leg while he was being arrested?
Correct.
And do you have the age ranges of all of the kids? Do we just know the 10-year-old's age?
I do not personally have that right now. I know the detectives do, but I don't have that information.
They're all under 18 at least. They're all
Yes.
kids.
Yeah.
And do we have any idea who was it? One of the children that recorded the video?
I'm not sure at this time. I mean, it could have been recorded by the child or someone else in the house, but we'll get to that.
Have mom and her boyfriend both been charged, Lieutenant?
Yeah, the biological mother that lives on Row at the address, and the boyfriend, the 40-year-old, the main suspect, they've both been charged.
The other names?
I'm not releasing that until they've been officially charged.
So they're being held, I guess, on suspicion of these charges at the time?
Correct, yeah. Once we do the interviews, we'll present whatever additional charges we have to the prosecutor's office for final approval on those.
But they're being held on suspicion of those charges at this time?
Correct,
even though
yes.
they haven't been-
They've been booked in the Montgomery County Jail.
Anybody have anything else?
I think we didn't ask. You think it's important, Lieutenant?
No, I think that covers it pretty well for now.
And you said there weren't any other priors for these people either? Prior arrests?
They do have prior arrests, but we'll look at that. It wasn't anything initially to upgrade that to a felony child endangering. But yeah, we look at the criminal history as we make those charging decisions.